seed in it, correct? It's empty. So we're gonna go to bin 5, or excuse me, tank 5, 777, which is anytime you guys see enter security code, it's 777. That's always the case. If you don't want that, I could reprogram it, but I would just keep it simple, and that's what that is for. Now, you're in this, you know, the screen right here, and there's your pre-act, this seed wheel calibration. That's when you measure. There's a cup you guys were given. Yeah, you take this, you get your seed in here. Steve Stoller will go over this more specifically, but from what I gather, every time you get the seed out and you level it off, however you do it should be the same for each bin, for each amount, and each type of seed. I was more under the impression there's always a wrong way to do things, but as long as you're consistent in how you do it, that's the most important thing. And this number should be generally 1,000 or above is what you're going to get for each of your seed types. But again, Steve Stoller will make sure that you're right on for that. But here's your Tank 5 pre-act. Okay, what's this pre-act word? Basically what it means is if you do a job and you want 5,000 pounds and you want to treat 5,000 pounds of seed, all the conveyors are running, your scale fills up, and then all of a sudden the scale head reads 5,000 pounds. But what about the seed that's on the conveyors that are, that's not accounted for? That's what our pre-act does. And we're going to run through this, we're going to run through a fake example here. Our computer is saying, hey, I want to do a job for 2,500 pounds. Okay, I want 2,500 pounds, but it's going to do it in 2 steps. It's going to get for 500, and then it's going to fill for the remaining 2,500. Now here's what happens. We'll set this thing up. We're going to hit run auto set, and then it's going to ask for the security code again. Then we'll enter it. Once we hit enter, whatever bin we select. Now we're on 5 because it's empty. I don't want to run any real seed right now, but we hit that. The gate opens. And seed's going to be coming out, which I'm going to be kind of filling it with my little fake computer here, my little scale. I'm going to say, okay, there's 500 pounds. Once this scale reads 500, it's going to shut off that solenoid to gate number 5 and close it. And then the whole system's going to run for a minute. So in that minute time, all the seed that was on the belts when that thing hit 500 is going to go into the scale. By the time that's done, let's say we have 800 pounds. Well, your computer said, hey, wait, I wanted 500, but I have 800. So that must mean there's 300 pounds of seed on the conveyors when I have what I want. So instead of running all the way up to 2,500, when I get to 2,200, I'm going to shut off that gate out there. And then and in that minute time, the remainder comes in and you should be at 2,500. And I've seen the pre-act be done, and I'd say 9 out of 10 times it's usually within right on or 5 pounds plus or minus, something like that. But that's how the computer does it. Once it calculates the pre-act, it fills in this field. It also gives you the rate, how fast it's going out, and then it gives you the clean out time for tank 5. So that way the conveyor will know how long to stay on after your scale. In the future, when you run a job, it'll know how long to have the conveyor kind of clean out just to make sure everything is done.
So once you do your actual first passing of the seed, then it'll automatically set itself, and we won't have to worry about
Great point. This is, you do this when you fill each of your bin before, beginning of the year, you got your manual gate shut. There's 2 gates. There's your manual gate, then there's our gate. Beginning of the year, you got a full bin. You have to do the pre-act for each bin. Anytime you change seed or you refill, you have to do the pre-act again.
Flow rates will change.
And I would say you keep this, there's this auto adjust for the pre-act. I would keep that on all the time, and here's why. Temperature changes, if the fan's blowing while you're doing this, a lot of different variables can get in the way. So this auto adjust just makes sure that you're hitting the mark as often as possible. So I'd keep that on. I mean, you don't have to, but to be more accurate, I would. But anyway, back to the your manual gate shut, my air gate sitting right above it. What we recommend is opening the manual gate 4 inches. We recommend 4 inches because that should get you between 30 to 40 pounds per second. Can it be greater than that? Yes. That's our recommendation because most people have systems that can handle that. The higher the incline, again, with all the different systems, I can't just say, oh yeah, run it at 60, and then some guy has like a 48-degree angle, and he'll just get bogged down. So we say about 4 inches, open up that manual gate. And what I would do is once you get to that 4 inches, I would take the handle out so that no one moves it. You don't close it every day, you keep it right there. I don't know how many visitors you have to the farm, but kids, oh, it's changes. That'll mess you up if it gets moved at all because the computer's calibrating it to just that. So once that's open 4 inches, then you can start to, go through this process, and then it'll tell you all these different numbers. But you do that once, that's it, like you said. Now, having said all that, the computer wanted how many pounds? 2,500. You'll have 2,500 pounds of seed in your bin, in your scale. So either you can manually discharge it and put it back in, or you could do a job for 2,500 or 5,000 pounds, whatever you wanted to do. It's important to note, right here is part of the numbers is you have to put the fill amount and the capacity. So the capacity of the bins out there is what, 150,000 pounds? Probably something like that. Let's just put that.
4,250 bushel, or 4,250 units.
I'm not an expert, man, but
Okay.
I would keep it there, and then let's just say for right now you have 150,000 in there. When I hit exit, it's going to save it again back to the database because they're talking. They're always talking. Right here, you see this. Now it's full. This green bar shows full. Now this is a good visual indicator.
So there's no sensors in the bins to let the machine know
No, there
how
isn't.
full it is. That's all had to be manually put in.
Exactly. Very good. That's manual. There is no sensors in there like that. And again, this is a good visual to see how much is in there. This is not a mechanism for bookkeeping. Don't use this to match the. Don't use this because it's kind of. Let's say it holds 150,000. I could put 200,000 in there, and it'll still say full, which obviously doesn't make any sense. So I wouldn't use that as a strict bookkeeping. It's more of a visual aid. And then right here now. The reason I said you could either manually unload the 2,500 and put it back in or do an order is because every time you hit print when you're done with your job, it's going to subtract the inventory. So if you never hit print, if you never did a job and you manually took it out of there, in the computer's mind, it was always full. But if you decide to do an order, then it'll take the amount that it ran, 2,500, whatever you decide to do. That's what it's going to do. It's also important to note the reason they calculate the rate is because let's say your Tank 5 Pre-Act is really 500 pounds. And a guy comes in and says, I want 400. Now, I don't know your policy. You could tell him to go get lost, or you could say, okay, we can do that because we know the rate that the seed comes out. The computer will figure that out, how long to open and close the gate. But if you did not have the rate in there, you could not do an order less than the Pre-Act. If the Pre-Act amount was 250 and the guy wanted 200, if you didn't have the rate in there of 35 pounds per second, whatever, you could not do that. But you can because you have that in there. I know it's a lot of stuff, but again, one of the good things that we do is this KSI menu has a support menu has quick guides. And these are, how to daily best practices, running an order with a database, running an order without the database, running an order from boxes. Speaking of which, you guys have a box dump right above this guy right here, correct? Mm-hmm. So if you want to run boxes, you pull your forklift out, you put the box over it, you open it up. Before you open it up, you'd want to come in here and hit hand. So now your seed is going to go into your scale. The only difference when you do a box dump is this. After you unload it, you'll have a number sitting in here, whatever that number is. So when you do your order, you can manage order, and then you can just put whatever pounds, let's say it's at 2505. You could just make your order that number that's actually physically on the scale. That's the only difference. Because when it's coming out of the tanks, we take care of it, but when it's your box dump, you take care of it. The only thing I wanted to let you know, though, was that you manually turn that on. that's how you do that. I mean, that's pretty much what happens. So that's pretty much all of your different, screen menus. Your support menu, again, there's that. There's the KSI information. Here's a KSI menu that has a system setup. We're going to turn, and when they're green, they're on. Whenever you see the green, that means it's on. It's working. Enable auto discharge. Well, your auto discharge is basically this. Your scale fills up with seed to whatever you ordered, but it has to be discharged from the system. If you don't have that enabled, it's no big deal. You just have to do it manually. There's a start and stop on that page. So for example, right here on my loadout page, because it's enabled, you don't see it, but there's a start and stop button. That's what would be there. You hit start and then everything would work. But if you didn't hit that, the seed would just kind of sit in the hopper and wait for the computer to tell it to do something. But that's what that's for. And then enable bin fans. Again, if this is not on, if you go to your tank pages and tanks 1 through 4, like if we were to do that now, I just turned them off. So if we go here, there's no bin fan. Where's the bin fans? There aren't any. Well, yeah, there are. We just wired them up. Okay. Go back to your KSI menu, go to your system setup, enable bin fans. Now if I go back there, we'll see these guys right here, and I hit fan. And we just heard the starter kick on, and he's on outside right now. And then I hit fan again, and it turns off. So that's how that works. That's the importance of this KSI menu, the system setup. Logic reset, I wouldn't be hitting that unless you call in for help or something, or you call my cell phone. I have a couple of cards up here. Call me up. If I tell you to do that as a way to, if things went awry and you want to just start over, it's kind of what it is. It's kind of like just a do-over. But having said that, if you unloaded 2,500 pounds is in the scale and you hit logic reset, the computer's not going to record that you took 2,500 pounds from it. So unless you started over, did an order for 2,500, but if you just, we put it back in there, or we took it out, put it in a box somewhere, that's why that little green thing on the side is nice, but it maybe not record everything, because in a situation like that, when you hit logic reset, it starts everything over. So you have your enabled data log to USB. Now here's why that's important. Right now, we're online. If we do, and let's say the server goes down or something happens where your computer is as worthless as a paperweight. Well, what happens? Can we still run jobs? Absolutely you can. You just have to manage the order this way, hit OK. And what will happen is your only records then are going to be the printed ticket, and then if you put a USB stick in here, it'll save to the USB. But if you're online, if you plug that back in, but if you're online, if it says, it'll say currently offline, but once you're back online, this USB, nothing's going to it. So you'll always have an electronic record, either here when the database is on, or that USB stick will record everything you did if you were offline and running jobs. The reason why we did that is because if this isn't working somehow, or the computer's down, who knows what, you still got to work. But that's what lets you, this will be gone, but you're able to manage your order, put in the customer information, and then manage your recipe. Now that we're here, we can do that. If we hit manage order, I can change the order name, I can write a comment in there, and what's in these columns here, that's what's going to print out on your ticket. This seed variety, you can touch this all day long, it ain't going to change anything, because that's just a field for vision, just so you see it. But you can change the tank on this job. Let's go to tank 2. And what it's saying is, hey, it doesn't match the, I got to save it again, or save as, so we can do a different order. You can't do any order twice. You have to have an individual name for this order up here. So I can put Bobby in there, hit enter, and then let's say we wanted 5,000 pounds. Hit enter. I'll check it to make, that's what I checked, and then I'll hit save as, And it'll say, are you sure you want to save this new, as a new order? Yes, I do. So Bobby's name will appear up here, and then after he goes away, this master start, we can start the program. Now here's your managed customer information. Again, all this is going to be communicating. If I change it here, it changes it there. Is that good or bad? All right, it's water. And then we turn it, same thing. You can change it here and then hit the green check mark, and that's